Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to implement an online leaderboard into your Unreal Engine 5 projects using the EpicLeaderboard plugin. It is plug and play, fully cross-platform, works on all UE5 platforms. It's very quick to set up, and if you have a project with a lot of players that's very demanding, you can also support it by subscribing and unlocking additional features. It has a very simple blueprint interface, which the templates actually manage for you, so you don't even need to touch it. And I'm going to show you how to set everything up. Now, to download the plugin, you want to scroll all the way down and click on this download plugin button. This will bring you to the GitHub page where you can download the version corresponding to your Unreal Engine version. In my case, I'm going to use 5.3. Once you've downloaded it, unzip the folder, and then you can drag the plugins folder from the zip file into the project that you want to use it in. Just drag the whole folder in and then start the project. This will ask you to recompile. Just do that, it won't take too long. Now, once the project loads, you will see that you have a plugins folder in your content browser. If you click on it, you can see that the EpicLeaderboard plugin is loaded and it has two folders in it, resources and UMG. We will use the WG Leaderboard widget from the UMG folder. There's also the leaderboard entry widget and the leaderboard frame widget. If you want to customize how the leaderboard looks, this is where you can do that. Now, the game that we're working on is just an old game jam project of mine, where you can stack the blocks as high as you can. And when you lose, at the moment, nothing happens. Now, this is the code. And what you need to make sure of is where you store the score. In my case, I have the score stored in a widget. It's the game widget here. And I store the score in the score num variable. Now this function, the game over function, gets called when the game is ended. And what we need to do is we need to create a widget when the game has ended. So let's type create widget. And let's search for the WG Leaderboard widget. Let's add it to the viewport. Now we also need to get the player controller and set the input mode to UI only. We also want to show the mouse cursor, so let's drag off the player controller again and set show mouse cursor to true. Now if we play our game now and we lose, the leaderboard widget is now displayed. Now there's a score box and a submit button in the bottom left corner. If we enter a score and hit submit, it asks us for our username. So if we enter our username and hit submit, we now have a high score on the leaderboard. We can also choose only today's scores. We can also filter by country if we wanted to. Okay, so now let's implement this properly. To do that, we are going to go into the plugins, UMG, EpicLeaderboard folder and go into the WG Leaderboard widget. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the submit button and we're going to remove the score box. And what we're going to need to do in here is going to remove the button submit and we're going to replace it with a custom event. And this custom event is going to be submit score. We're also going to add a variable, which is going to be the score that we want to submit. This is going to be a float. And as an input into the submit score function, we're also going to take the score. And then we're going to set the score to that value. And now this works in the following way. This checks if the username variable in the widget, in the leaderboard widget, is set. If it is set, that means that you either loaded it from a save game, which is how I recommend you use this, or you loaded it from somewhere else. Now, if it is empty, then we're going to show the enter username widget, which calls this path. This just checks if the username is available in the game, which means that it checks if it contains profanity or if the game already has a user with that username. If it does have a user with that username, we show an error. If it doesn't have a user with that username and the username is available, then we set the username variable in the widget and we call submit entry again. Now, if the username is already set, like if you have it stored, like I said, in a save game or somewhere else, then we just submit the entry immediately. So what we need to do is, in here, we don't get the score from the text box. Instead, we get it from our variable, and we will set it. And we also need to do that here. And now when we go into our blueprint level, what we need to do is we need to call submit score with the score that we have stored in our game. And if we compile this and try it out, and we get some score, it asks us for a name. If we enter a name, it's immediately going to submit the score to the leaderboard. Now this is great, but this submits to the public leaderboard at the moment, which is the leaderboard that everybody that uses the plugin will get. So what you really want to do is you want to create your own leaderboard. What you need to do for that is you need to go to the dashboard in the epicleaderboard.com website, and you need to click on Create Game. Here you just enter the data of the game that you want to create. And then you get two keys. You get the game ID and you get the game key. Let's copy the game ID and let's go back into the WG leaderboard widget. And here we can paste the game ID into the make epic leaderboard game struct creation node. And we can paste the game key as well. Now, you don't actually need to create a leaderboard in here if you're in development mode. In development mode, whenever you submit a score to any leaderboard, it's going to automatically create that leaderboard in the UI for you. So if we use, for example, the normal difficulty as the leaderboard primary ID, and we play, we have a new leaderboard with our score. And if we go to the website and we refresh, we now see that the leaderboard has been created for us, and we can see our score on the leaderboard as well. Now, if you wanted to edit some settings of the leaderboard, you can do that as well. So you can see that the ID has been created as normal. You can choose a different sorting method, which means is higher or is lower better on your leaderboard. Lower is generally better if you have a time that you submit. You can choose an allowed range, which means the minimum submittable score and the maximum submittable score can be set. This can be good for catching cheaters. And you can choose how many decimals you want to display. In my case, the default is fine. I don't need any decimals, and higher scores are better. Now, one thing we can do is also create a button to take us back to the main menu. So let's just drag it in here. With some text. And on clicked, we're just going to open level main menu. Now, one thing to note is that if you submit a score with the same username, obviously it's going to override it. And so by default, this is not going to let you choose the same username twice, because you would override someone else's score. So what you really want to do is you want to go in here, and when the username gets chosen right here, you want to store that in a save game. Now, there are tutorials out there that show you how you can store values in a save game and load them. And once you store it in a save game at this place, you want to load it right here. You want to load it back when you submit the score. And you want to check, is this stored in a save game? And if it is, then you want to load it and not show the show enter username widget. This way you can submit with the same username multiple times instead of having to choose a new username every time. So there you go. That's how you can implement an online leaderboard into your game. If you have any more questions or something's unclear, feel free to go to the Discord and join us and ask away. Till next time.